This is Pocklington, a thriving market town in East Yorkshire. A Humberside, as the bureaucrats want it to be called these days. We've seen an artist, we've seen a sculptor, and now let's go to the cinema.
Well, I know where I'm going, don't take much knowing on a straight...
No ordinary cinema, this, though. When the big film's over, up goes the screen, and the second show begins. Behind the screen, there's a whole world of entertainment. It's called Penny Arcadia, and it's a history of slot machines from earliest time, put together by Jon Gresham. Wow, what a collection. This has got to be one of the oldest.
I think it is.
My word, it's a tanager with a bit of J stuck in at the back end and on the wings. Does it still work?
Yeah, there she goes.
Mechanical bird watching.
Yes.
What happens in that one?
Oh, that's very educational. An English execution.
Oh.
Shall I detonate it for you?
I'd like to see it.
It's starting now. All executions took place at 8 in the morning when they had them, so it rings 8 o'clock.
Eight bells, and all's not well. Oh, but it doesn't hang about, does it, when it gets to 8? God, and what about this one?
This is a footballing machine. All the machines in this section were made by a German who lived in this country. And he had never seen a game of football, so if you count the players...
There's 13 aside, it says there.
And so there are.
Must have been rugby he was thinking about at the time. That looks an oddie.
It is. It's like an ancient bingo blur. The idea was to catch the balls in these cups, which you can control. You put 2 coins in and... Yes.
Here it comes, look.
Try and catch them in the cups.
They don't give you much of a chance.
No, they don't. It's harder than it looks. You can see I've done it before.
2-0.
Yeah.
Not a bad score. What about the one here? Looks like an early jukebox to me.
Well, it's again a machine that gives off a prize. There were prizes round the circumference of that. When you put a coin in, the arm came forward and hopefully swept one of the prizes into there, which was delivered in the front of the machine.
Just scooped them off. It's a real artwork. This is, I mean, this scallop design and the eagle, presumably a German eagle and so on.
It's nice to meet somebody that appreciates the craftsmanship that went into that.
Well, it speaks of its times. I mean, even an upholstered interior.
Yes.
They wouldn't make them like that now, would they?
Probably not.
Well, John, they're nice to look at, but they're a heck of a lot more fun when they're working, aren't they?
They are, yes.
This one's going like a bomb.
Yep, you've got the knack. Much quicker than me.
How did you get started on this collection?
Well, I'm fortunate in that I've many friends who are showmen, and one of them, 12 years ago, gave me one little machine that's in this museum, and it grew from that.
Good Lord, that was the first one. Now, I mean, are you in a show business tradition yourself?
Well, I have been connected with show business off and on for a lot of my life. I used to earn my living on the music halls when there were such things.
So you were off to a flying start?
Yes.
How many machines do you think you've got altogether?
I don't think I know. 333, exactly.
Good Lord, and how many are there in here?
Approximately 100.
That's quite a variety. And what sort of time range do they cover?
Well, I know that for certain one was made in 1886, and my own interest stops at about 1939. They're representative throughout that period.
But I suppose with the singing bird and so on, it could be 200 years old, the earliest, really.
Oh, yes, some of them are difficult to date. I was only naming the ones I know with certainty when they were made.
And what about the latest?
The latest, well, we do have in the foyer, you've seen it, a Space Invader. The first one that was introduced into this country, because I'm sure that that, too, will be a museum piece in time.
My word, Space Invaders are history already, eh?
Yeah.
When you do get them, I mean, do you get them given, or do you have to buy them, or how do you come by them?
In the early days, I collected them because they were being thrown away and junked, And I was fortunate in getting them for nothing or next to nothing. I'm afraid that has changed recently. But it does mean that no more will be destroyed because they now are of value.
They've become collector items, basically, I suppose.
Exactly.
Why did you decide to locate the collection in Pocklington, John?
Well, it's close to my home. This was my local cinema. It's a delightful town and close to the tourist centre of York.
Sounds good reasons to me. Tell me, are there any other collections like this anywhere around?
There's one in this country at Brighton on the Palace Pier. It'll be entering its 3rd year this year. And one in Paris. Those are the only public collections I know in Europe, though there's 1 or 2 in the United States.
What about from here on? Where do you go from here?
Well, where I go from here is to, hopefully, to share what has been a private hobby and a private pleasure, share it with the general public, hoping they will get the enjoyment out of them that I have had for so many years.
Terrific. Can we go back to playing this marvellous game?
I'd love to.
Oh, it's stuck now. I think you better come back now. What does this jolly little Jack Tar do that costs tuppence?
Oh, well, he gives you an electric shock. He's cast iron, made in Germany in the first decade of this century. You push a penny in, push a hand...
I think I'll save me tuppence. And I see with that one, you can test your strength.
That's right, made in 1904, the first one. You pull this up and it registers the strength of your pull.
My word, good competition.
Yeah?
Football seems to be very popular. You've got half a dozen with football as a theme, haven't you?
All different.
This looks a good one aside for a change.
Yes, it's the first one made in this country in 1896. You put a penny in, push that handle down, and the ball appears, and you can kick it from side to side.
I bet own goals are a feature of this as a game. Oh.
Ah.
Cost you a penny. She's got a great little act, hasn't she?
I think so. She's been doing it for a large number of years, too.
Certainly looks like it.
We know that she existed in 1908 because there's a label inside the case that tells us where she was located then, in Aberdeen. But she could be much older.
Well,
She's stopped.
She does a very good act for a penny.
I'm glad you like it. Maybe you'll like this one, too.
This looks a pretty elaborate setup.
Yes, well, you've seen an English execution. This is an American execution, though it was made in this country, in Birmingham, prior to 1930.
Well, it looks high technology anyway, doesn't it?
It does, and the figures are unusual. They're made of wax.
Ouch, and it's all over.
Yes.
They look a pretty macabre lot next door as well, don't they?
The Chinese torture, they do. And the history of this particular model is fairly interesting. It was made, would you believe it, by 2 maiden ladies.
Good Lord, who were they?
They were Alice and Evelyn Dennison. Their father started making working models in Leeds in the 1880s, and he made dancing fairies, pixies in the dell, subjects like that. He died in the early 1920s. 2 of his daughters took over the business, and they started making Chinese torture, murder in the cathedral.
My word, what a thing to follow pixies in the dell with, eh? There must be a model in this somewhere. Keep out of Leeds. What the butler saw. Good stuff, this. Double X certificate. So there you have it. All human life is there in Pocklington's Penny Arcadia. We've seen Sally Arnott translate nature into art with her sculptures of animals, from frogs to ferocious beasts, catching the magic of nature and giving it new life in bronze. Neil Spillman puts the countryside he loves and those magnificent trees into the width of his canvases and gives great pleasure to the onlooker. For him it's a mission. His art does not just provide pretty pictures, but persuades people to preserve areas of natural beauty like Skipwith Common and the wildlife that lives there. Jon Gresham goes to great lengths to preserve his amusing machines so that tomorrow's people will get as much fun from them as we do, seeing the things that gave Grandpa a laugh.